Hi, I'm Shorty, and if you are a Sagittarius sun sign, then this video is for you. So I do have the complete world of the zodiac here, and I'll be reading the secrets of your sign for Sagittarius, which would be anyone born between November 23rd and December 21st. The Sagittarian quest is for spiritual enlightenment. In all their travels, adventures, escapades, and fascinations, Sagittarians are seeking only one thing: the elusive bridge of wisdom, which links the world of the finite to the world of the infinite. Though many choose to wear the jester's cap, it also rests on the head of the zodiac's deepest philosopher. If you are free and easy, a Sagittarian is your ideal companion. They're game for anything, full of wild ideas, and normally bold as brass. If you're cautious, though, you can rely on a Sagittarian to unnerve you. Sagittarians are as deep and sensitive below the surface as they are happy-go-lucky above it. They hate conversation and prefer to express feelings when they really feel them. A Sagittarian, for example, may shower you with gifts one day out of the blue, but totally forget your actual birthday. They won't hold it against you if you do the same. In fact, they'd rather you did that than give some dull or unpredictable token. Sagittarians love the spur of the moment and can feel badly trapped by a standing commitment. Their enthusiasm lasts only while there's a challenge or novelty. This doesn't make them unreliable, for they will always honor an obligation, but they don't really enjoy being dutiful and are at their happiest when anything can happen. Sagittarius also have great difficulty saying the word no. It is an endearing quality based on an irrespectable optimism. The closest they'll normally come to a refusal of any sort is a hesitant maybe, which might easily be mistaken for a guarded yes. If you can learn to read the signs to tell which is which, your life will be easier and their relationship with you will be much happier. Home. Sagittarians will happily live in the strangest places, or failing this, they will try hard to make an ordinary home as odd as possible. Your home may not be sumptuous, but it is always welcoming, or it would be if only your visitors could ever find a chair to sit on. These and the tables tend to be piled high with items you've been meaning to get around to putting away. Fortunately, your friends make allowances for your lack of domesticality. They know that you thrive on adventure and would rather spend your cash on plane tickets than roof repairs. They might, however, appreciate if you could one day just invest a little money in a broom or a vacuum that actually worked. A Sagittarian's ideal house number is probably 2001 because they never have enough space, and they're always longing for the Odyssey. Clothes. Sagittarians are notorious for wearing anything that they can find on hand, but if there's an occasion worth dressing up for, they can outshine everyone. You are as likely to find a vegetarian at a slaughterhouse as a Sagittarian at a fashion show. You're hopelessly out of touch with current trends and totally unapologetic about it. This might be fine if you were a timelessly tasteful dresser, but are you? Not at all. Not only do you reject modernity, you snub tradition. You think you have the perfect right to wear denim with tweed, army boots with silks, bright red tops with vivid green skirts, and so on. Worse still, you have the downright temerity to look good in these bizarre combinations most of the time at least. Cars. You ought to drive a Colt, a Mustang, or a Cavalier. Why? Because yours is the sign of the centaur, half human, half horse. You don't so much buckle into the driving seat as strap yourself into the saddle, and when you set off you want plenty of horsepower. Wealthy Sagittarians express this preference along with the tendency towards incorrigible optimism by choosing cars capable of speeds which could get a 747 airborne. Poorer ones just wistfully wonder whether they could get a V8 engine by pouring Campbell's vegetable juice into the tank. For these and other reasons, too numerous and embarrassing to mention, Sagittarian-driven cars tend to end up at the scrapyard earlier than most. Food. Sagittarians are always hungry. Luckily, they burn up lots of calories with their nervous energy. They also tend to eat their food very quickly. How tempted are you by leek and asparagus soup, followed by chickpeas and tomato sauce, on a bed of wild rice with a side dish of parsnip? And, for dessert, apricot and almond tart spiced with cinnamon and cloves. Each of the above ingredients is governed by Jupiter, ruler of your sign. So, if you're a typical Sagittarian, you don't just fancy that menu. You're already halfway into the kitchen to cook it. If cooking is not a thing you do much of, either you're not a typical Sagittarian or you're a frustrated one. Yours is potentially the sign of a brilliant chef and great entertainer. Money. If you can actually count your money, then you're not really a rich man. Thus spake Sagittarian millionaire John Paul Getty in the 20th century. Though he used the word man, I'm sure he meant person, and I hope this little linguistic lapse won't stop Sagittarian females from identifying with the spirit of his statement. For those born under this star, the sign of the centaur, there really is no such thing as enough. Your motto might as well be, if a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing to wild excess, and then a few times more for good measure. It's not that you're greedy, just that you're endowed with a hearty appetite. It's not that you're unaware of the need for financial restraint. It's just that you're helplessly extravagant. It's not even, come to think of it, that you're ambitious in a traditional sense. It's that you have an insatiable curiosity to see how far you can push your luck. As a Sagittarian, you tend sadly to spend with all the prudence of a drunken lottery winner, even when your financial picture outright ought to be giving rise to far more sobering thoughts. Occasionally, you will nobly attempt to discipline yourself in one area, only to spoil matters soon afterwards by blowing all you have saved elsewhere. This is one reason why your bank balance keeps going up and down like a yo-yo. Another is your propensity to avoid steady sources of income in favor of speculative ventures and dubious get-rich-quick schemes. Happily, your ruling planet Jupiter has a kind disposition and usually steps in to inject common sense when your own proves sorely lacking. Just the job? Air steward, stewardess, announcer, attorney, broadcaster, clerk, court officer, engineer, explorer, film director, foreign correspondent, humorist, importer, inventor, jockey, judge, philanthropist, philosopher, preacher, publicist, safari leader, sportsman, woman, travel agent, tour guide, university professor, writer. 5 ways to cash in. Forget about get-rich-quick schemes. In fact, forget about getting rich in general. Go off and do something self-sacrificing instead. Make sure you get plenty of media publicity for your noble endeavor. And there you have it, the best way for you to get rich quick. 5 ways to branch out. Become energy self-sufficient by building an electricity-generating windmill on your roof. Open an exclusive holiday camp on the moon. Instill the virtues of monogamy into Jack Nicholson. Persuade Jackie Collins to write a book without passionate scenes. Save the dodo. Love. When Sagittarians fall in love, the fulfillment and expression of that love is of paramount importance. They find it impossible to play it cool. Loyalty means everything to a Sagittarian. They give their whole hearts to the people they trust, and they expect similar dedication in return. If you are having difficulty now or have had some trouble in the past, With making a relationship stand the test of time, it is almost certainly because you have tried too hard. A Sagittarian, you cannot help but feel overwhelming optimism about everything you ever attempt or dream of. Either you don't care at all, or you so passionately care that it drives you crazy. And when, as so often happens, you do care deeply, you find it impossible to turn your emotions on and off like the proverbial tap. All this makes you incorrigible and irresistible, potentially very successful at getting what you want, but sadly just occasionally a bit difficult to live with. People who are prone to little more self-doubt, emotional insecurity, or just general pessimism find your faith inspiring but overwhelming. Sometimes they need a break from your Sagittarian smile to find out how to manifest one of their own. The trouble here is that you find it hard to let them go. Swinging in classic Centurion fashion from one extreme to another, you change from having every confidence in the fact that your relationship can eventually be made to work to having none whatsoever. Making a partnership last a lifetime thus, for every Sagittarian ultimately is a matter of learning how to make allowances for the slower speed at which the companion probably needs to operate for greater depth, in which they feel they need to analyze their feelings. And it may involve learning how to stand back a little when the occasion demands it without actually going so far as to storm out the door with a huff. A sideways look at your sign. Before I begin to tell you about the sign of Sagittarius, I must confess a complete lack of objectivity. While it's the sign I know most about, it's also the sign that puzzles me more than any other. And the reason I must be so courageously self-defeatingly honest is that I am as much a fearlessly frank Sagittarius as you are. We Saggies, you see, simply can't resist being upfront, outspoken, and a little outrageous. And while that has a lot to do with being a Sagittarian, it is all about... While that is what being Sagittarian is all about, it often leads us to hot water. We end up getting accused of being tactless, effusive, and offensive. We just don't know where to draw the line, or rather we do, and sometimes we don't care. Fortunately, despite our many alleged faults and character defects, most people seem to agree we are wonderfully enthusiastic. They sometimes think that we can be unbearably optimistic, intolerably hopeful, and nauseatingly bright and breezy. But at least they concede our zest for life rarely fails us, and we are never down very long. When I was a kid, I used to have a blow-up Yogi Bear with a weight at the bottom. It was as big as I was, and no matter how hard you hit it, it would just wobble a bit and bounce right back, ready for more punishment. That, in a nutshell, is the Sagittarian spirit. It's probably also true that at a physical level, most Sagittarians have similarly extraordinary recuperative powers. Contrary to popular belief, however, Sagittarians don't all like sports and horseback riding. What most of them do like is a challenge. If you want to get a Sagittarian to do something, tell them it's impossible, or better still, dare them to do it. We Sagittarians like the thrill of pitting our wits and bodies against adverse conditions and emerging triumphantly. If we think we can't do it, we won't try. But by and large, the only things that frighten us are rules, regulations, bureaucracies, routines, and people who believe that the point of living is to keep your head down, act normal, and do what the world expects. Having said all this, though, I mustn't leave you with the impression that Sagittarians are one-dimensional beings who have a good sense of humor and love of travel and adventure, but not much else. I would like to leave you with that impression, of course, because it's the picture I want the world to have of me, and the image I suspect you too would preferably like to project. But the reason we should try hard to come across as unflappable and lighthearted is that inside we are sensitive and thoughtful. We care so much about our fellow human beings that sometimes it hurts. We feel deeply, we empathize strongly, and we do want to do our best for others, but it can't always be done. Occasionally, pain is a part of the human growth process. That's the fact that we find hardest to face. And we are at times tough and when times are tough, we are the ones who are suffering. It's only our unshakable faith in happier futures that keeps us going despite the problems. We are optimistic and positive because we feel we have to be. We see it as our duty to be quite court jesters, and the worse the world gets, the broader our painted smiles will be. We Sagittarians somehow instinctively know that faith creates hope, hope creates inspiration, and inspiration creates magic. And we apply these principles, and they work. So all of you out there who are Sagittarians, I hope that you found this information helpful. And please take the time to calculate your moon and check out those videos as well. And also look forward to your personal birthday in the future, as I'll be going through the rest of the year with you. Happy birthday. I love you.